So, today we are, as you can see, looking at Gemlings Inc., which is a very interesting game, a very interesting game mechanic that I like a lot. I'm not quite sure how to describe it. So, let's just jump in. We'll have a look at some gameplay, let the game speak for itself, and then we'll have a little bit of critique for the end of it, but not too much. This is a game that declares itself to be in a sort of a prototype stage. The dev has said this is very much a first release. There's a lot of things planned for it. So yeah, I'd very much like to see where this game goes. So I'm hoping it does well. I think there's a huge amount of potential for it to be another sort of significant crowd pleaser, as it were. Right, so let's jump in. There is sadly no music, but there are sound effects, so that's fine. So this is our game screen, our game map, as it were. Up in the top left corner, you can see we have 4 turns, so we're able to click on one of these gems 4 times. We have not collected any gems yet, that's why gems is 0. We're on level 1, and this sort of progress bar up at the side here sort of measures how many gems we've collected, and we need to collect, in this case, 5 gems to get through to the next level. So we have 4 turns to collect 5 gems. But it's not quite that simple. As you see, there's now a big combo button at the bottom here for the longest combo that we can trigger off, and we'll see what that means at the moment. Over here on the right we have info. If we mouse over a gem, it tells us what kind of gem it is. These are all sort of normal gems, and they have a certain amount of hit points, either 3 or 2. We'll describe what that means at the moment. We can turn the hit points showing off and on. We can speed up sort of the movement of things, and then we can end turn. That's a useful button we might see later. And then we have our settings page, where all we can do is affect the sound effects and the screen shake intensity. That's a little bit misspelled, developer. I can't speak today. Right, so let us jump in and see what happens when we click a gem. As you can see, these gems are pentagons that have a sort of a pointed side, so the side that is pointed in a particular direction, while the other sides are sort of slightly off center, because that's the way the pentagon is designed. And this one, you can see it is pointing upwards, and if we click on it, it will fire a sort of a pulse upwards and then collect that gem as well, which will in turn fire a pulse back downwards, which will hit that gem, which will get collected, and that one will fire a pulse and hit that end gem, and that will be 1 turn. So let's click on that and see what happens. Dunk, dunk, dunk. As you can see, that pulse had a sort of a lifespan, which is the lifespan of this gem that starts it off, and that'll only sort of go for 3 turns. So it's 1, 2, 3, and that's kind of, yeah, that's just how it works, how it collects it. So if we fire this one, it didn't fire a sort of a final pulse out of the screen, because the lifespan of the pulse that it fires out had ended by the time it got to that sort of 3rd gem, as it were. But we did collect 8 gems with each of those, which is more than the 5 we needed for the level. So this is now the portal to go through to the next level. Now we can load up. It doesn't really make much of a difference at this point, but what we're trying to do is collect as many gems as possible. We'll see what happens when we run out of turns, because we took 2 turns there and we still have 2 turns left. So now we can sort of plot by sort of hitting the gems that give us the longest combos, as it is, for the number of shots that each gem has. And I think the lifespan of the gems might be defined by each level. Do we have anything here that no particularly good runs here, unfortunately. Right, so now we've run out of turns. Our expedition, quote unquote, has ended, and we can start getting upgrades. We've got 15 gems to spend that we've managed to pick up in that turn, which takes us to our upgrades. I'd say tree, but it's more like a list. Now, a very important one that we can do is increase the grid size, because that grid is quite small, which kind of drastically reduced the number of gems we could hit in a row, depending on which way each gem was pointing. So we can buy significant upgrades, but obviously the cost climbs significantly as we buy each level of it. But we've got a much bigger grid now, and we can start a new expedition in the standard sort of incremental thing. So now we have a much bigger grid, and much sort of healthier gems as well. You see, they have much higher numbers. This one will fire off 6 times, so that looks like a good one to start with. Yeah, now we had a good one then. We already got our ability to jump to the next level, and I think I like going through to the next level because it's obviously we've cleared out a bunch of gems here, which means there'll be less gems for the other gems to hit, so we'll have worse combos, as it were. So we jump through to the next level. I like just firing off the gem in the middle because it has the most interesting ones it'll hit. We got half of that combo. This looks like a good one. And let's see, that one's not going to go very far. Let's try you. Alright, and that was the end of the expedition, but we managed to get 26 gems. We can buy another layer of grid size, which is a good one. And then we can get these double-sided gems. We have one that starts at the level, and we only have 5 gems left. We can't afford any of the other upgrades. So this is this gem. As you can see, it has 2 points. It's now a hexagon instead of a pentagon. So it will fire in both directions. So if we click on it, it fired 2 ways. And that turn sort of gave us a lot more power, as it were. It's much nicer when these are in the middle. This one will fire both up and down. So we click on that. And that got some nice combos there. And we're about to run out of turns here, so let's go with you. That sucked. Anyway, we got some gems there, and that's it. That's the gameplay I'm going to show. We have other interesting gems that we can eventually buy. We have a shockwave gem. Well, let's get one of those. Let's buy some more double-sided gems. I like the shockwave gem, so we'll show that off. As you can see, it's this blue circle. If we click on it, it sends a pulse out that fires all of the gems around it at once, and that's a significant way to climb very, very quickly. Also, again, it's really nice when this is in the middle rather than close to the edge like it is now, but I mean, it works. We still managed to get things up, and we can get more of them later on. Well, this is quite a nice central one. And that is so satisfying. Sometimes the game gets a little bit confused. It seems to be a bug at the moment, and it kind of gets stuck. There's like one of the gem pulses that has gone off screen, but hasn't quote unquote died, and the game actually gets stuck at that point. And then you just hit the end turn button at the bottom right here, and that allows it to progress to the next turn, as it were. But so far we've been lucky in not having had that. As you can see, our gem count is climbing there. We have now run out of turns, so that's fine. But we've got 94 gems, and we can start looking at some of the more expensive upgrades. There's a chance for a gem to respawn, so as a gem pops, it counts as a gem that you've collected, but immediately respawns as a sort of a purple gem. So you can hit it again, and it can sort of continue a combo and all of those kinds of things. Yeah, so that's it. That is all of the gameplay I'm showing. So if you're just here for the gameplay, thank you for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, found it useful, please hit the like button. I would really love it if you guys would leave a comment, because I'm yelling into the void here, and it is really heartwarming when someone bothers to yell back and send me a nice message. And I do get them sometimes, and I really, really appreciate them, and I can always do with more. So if you're in the mood, just drop me a comment on the video, and I will greatly appreciate it and do my very best to answer. Thank you very much. And yeah, obviously, if you like this sort of thing where you're seeing me review games and showcase games, I do essentially one a day. So hit that subscribe button, and you'll get this steady little trickle of games into your presence, into your awareness from a site like Itch.io. I focus mostly on browser games, very quick and easy games you can jump into and have a fun time playing. And there's a massive playlist, nearly 300 games now. That you can go through and look for something that you might find interesting to play, and I would appreciate that. But obviously you don't have to do any of these things. Just thank you very much for watching, if you watched this far. So yeah, if you're heading out, thanks, and see you in the next video, I hope. If you are staying for the critique, well, Like I said, this game is in a sort of a prototype stage, so there's not too much to critique on it. There is no music. I would like music, some kind of maybe lo-fi groove in the background. Obviously, not something high energy, not something in your face, not something really trying to get your attention, but something chilled and relaxing in the background. That would be the kind of the music I would recommend for it, because people like that kind of thing. But obviously, that also means here in the settings page, can we not see the settings page? Are we a bit bugged out? I guess we can't see settings while this menu is up. Well, let's just reload. It's fine. It's a Godot game, in case you're wondering. I love Godot games, so it's not often that I see a bad game that comes out of somebody working on Godot. Yeah, so we would need another sound effects for the music here. Quality of life controls. I'd like the fact that this has already certain quality of life controls, which probably suggests that the developer is already planning on doing things like adding music and stuff like that. So yeah, my recommendation would be some kind of very slow, relaxing lo-fi groove in the background. That's what I would love to hear for this game. But that's just me. A tutorial? I mean, there isn't really a tutorial. I love that that sort of screen transition where it sort of scrolls in and out. I mean, I don't know. You click on the buttons and they do buttony things. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, like I've always said in my other videos, is that you people can come to a site like itch.io and get into these browser games very, very easily. So you can have someone that is not a gamer at all, that doesn't know anything about how to control a game, and there's some amazing videos out there showing. What happens if you go across that? Okay, nothing. Yeah, there's some amazing videos out there where somebody who is not a gamer sat down by a gamer with no instructions and just given a game to play, normally quite a complex game, and just the sheer lack of awareness of how to do what we think are very natural, ordinary things, but it's not when you haven't had gaming experience with interfaces that teach you how to do these things. So always assume that the person who comes to play your game, especially on a site like itch.io, is somebody who doesn't know anything about gaming, and you want to give them a tutorial from the very beginning. So I would suggest something here on your start menu, and another game button where it just says tutorial, and it takes you into a map that doesn't have many gems on it, but has the gems lined out, and you say click this gem and pulse on one of them, and you click it, and it shows the sort of the pulse going out, and sort of hitting another gem, and shows the lifespan of the pulse going, maybe moving it quite slowly, and it shows how the sort of the health goes down, and that kind of thing. Just really shows the mechanics very, very obviously, and maybe some of the upgrades you can buy as well and things like that, and explains the combos and the scoring. I don't know, some kind of really down in grassroots level tutorial that just tells the player how the game works almost, and that's how you sort of introduce people to your game, because one of the most important things in the game is the first couple of minutes of someone playing it, because that sets their perspective on the game, that sets their mood on it, and yeah, your game can be terrible after that, but if you've given them a good experience in the first couple of minutes, they're going to think the game is fantastic. Whereas even if your game is incredible later, but the first couple of minutes would be terrible, they're going to think your game is terrible. So yeah, those first few minutes are critical, and a good tutorial is a really good way to make those first few minutes fun and interesting and comfortable for the player to just slip into the game easily and comfortably. Yeah, that's the experience that you want. So I always recommend a lot of focus on the tutorial and a lot of focus on that initial impression of the game, with the music, with an interesting themed menu. I mean, there's no theming on this menu, but it is, as the developer says, in prototype stage. So yeah, once you have a game that you want people to really see, focus on those things. Focus on those few minutes. Focus on getting them into the game very easily and very comfortably. And yeah, focus on your initial theming, and that will set people's mood on it, and they will enjoy your game a lot more. So yeah, I mean, it's enough about the UI and the tutorial. The artwork, I think it's interesting. Obviously, there's no theming or art here in the beginning. I don't really like this combo bar on the side. I mean, it's nice enough, but without theming and things like that, it's a bit busy. Seriously, just turn it into more text over here. Sort of maybe sort of 3 numbers at the top with a little sort of symbol next to them. And then if you mouse over it, it says this is turns, this is the gems you've collected, this is the gems you need to collect. Sort of, mouse over stuff on maybe on the side here. I don't know. This is very sort of prototype layout, so I'm not going to say too much about it. But I will say that as a game design principle, try and put less information like in your face on the screen, but more information that's easy to find on the screen. You really want the players to have all of the information they need at their fingertips, but it should be just hidden away until they need it, because too much information confuses the brain. Too much detail and clutter, your brain has to think about all of the stuff, even if it's just thinking that it doesn't need to look at that. So yeah, you kind of want it to be hidden away, and but very, very easily accessible. And that's the focus I want for you. You want your screen as minimalist as possible, but with huge amounts of info about the game, possibly even more than the player will ever need, but just like a tooltip away, or a single drop down button away. Very, very easy to get to, but hidden away until they want to get to it. Yeah, so that would be my design principles. Otherwise, I did see people say they didn't like the gems, and they found it difficult to figure out which way it was pointing. You might consider a little colored dot where it's going to shoot, sort of color that tip a bit differently. I don't know. I found it very, very easy to deal with, so I'm just talking about sort of comments I saw. But yeah, I think it's nice. I think it's an interesting design. I know there's a strong temptation to add a sort of a textured background in there and all of that kind of stuff. My suggestion would be to maybe try and avoid that. You don't want to add more clutter to the screen. It's already quite a busy sort of game layout and things like that. Don't mess it up even more. Keep the background plain and simple. You can add textures around the edges if you want to, but not in the center. Yeah, and then I found the game feeling absolutely fine. I don't think there's immersion. It's not really a sort of a story one. Sort of thing could be added in there, although I don't think it's important for a game like this. But I think that's really all the critiques I have for the game at this stage, and I'm super excited to see where it's gonna go. So thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. And don't forget those comments. Goodbye.